Kicking off the list at number 10. Field of the Cloth of Gold. 1520, King Henry VIII of England and King Francis I of France. They're talking, they're planning, and they figure what better way to nurture this relationship we have here, this working relationship with one another. Let's have a party, let's celebrate, why not? Two nations drinking together. What could go wrong, right? Well, this party lasted for 2.5 weeks. Nobody really knew when or how to end it, but royals on both sides did know how to impress one another. And they did so by drinking more and more. And then they jousted. In that order. Yeah, it was a horrible chain of events. They ate meat from over 4,000 lambs, 1,000 ox, you name it. They were pouring resources into this big party. All of their resources, in fact, and eventually the two lads just wrestled it out, something they really just should have started with all along instead of involving others or their food supply. Yeah, both nations were completely drained of resources, food, treasury, you name it. Come 1521, they were at war all over again. Just 1 year later, but an absolute waste of time. But hey, they got to see two grown men wrestle, so that's fun, I guess, in these times.
Number 9, Festival of Drunkenness. Once upon a time in ancient Egypt, the big guy, Ra, god of the sun, heaven, kingship, power, and light, got upset with humanity and sent Hathor to teach us a lesson. She turned into a lion and began going around hunting humans, chasing us into the desert where she would drink our blood. Lovely. This made Ra feel a little bad, so he ordered his followers to bring him hematite and beer that he mixed together to make a blood-like liquid. Over 7,000 jars of the stuff. And he flooded the fields with it, which Hathor drank and drank and drank until she became so drunk she passed out. Because of Ra's decision to save us from the deity he sicked on us, the ancient Egyptians celebrated the Festival of Drunkenness. Basically, the people were allowed to drink, dance, do the deed, and light torches every 20th day of Thoth at home or in temples with everyone else until they got so drunk that they passed out, just like Hathor. As far as excuses to drink and have massive parties go, this one's pretty solid, yeah.
Number 8, the Red Wedding. January 28th, 1393, you are formally invited to a masquerade ball. Finally, it's about time. The French Queen Isabeau of Bavaria is hosting one of the most lavish parties of the decade. Bring your finest krakows, my friend. When the French royal court was celebrating the marriage of one of the Queen's ladies in waiting, it was a big deal. It was a happy day. For some, it was the best day of their lives. For others, at this ball, not so great. Not such a great day. King Charles VI had 5 companions all perform a dance. A dance routine, how fun. Weddings have those are a good time. They did a performance as beasts. They were committed to the bit. They had masks, big baggy outfits, lots of linen, lots of stuffing to appear as if they were literal beasts. The party was going well, wine was spilling, beasts were roaring, it was a good time. But one rule was put into place before this party went underway. Absolutely, positively, no candles. Obviously, right? I mean, look at these dudes. The Duke of Orleans had a little too much fun prior to this event and forgot the first rule of Fight Club when he arrived. The guy walked in with a lit torch. What an idiot. Some accounts say he dropped the torch by accident, others say he got too close trying to guess the identity of these beasts. Either way, this was a tragic event that took the lives of 4 people. Hence the name Ball of the Burning Men. Number 7, Fyre Festival. Of course we have to mention this celebration. This was the hottest festival that never happened. Billy McFarland, this guy Fawkes, I'll tell you that for free. But he knows how to throw a party, let me tell you that. Fyre happened in 2017, or rather that's when it was supposed to happen. 3 days, private beach in the Bahamas, just you, Kendall Jenner, and Ja Rule. A dream weekend right there, right? It's about time. I've always wanted this my entire life. I thought it was a cottage. Nope. Kendall Jenner and Ja Rule. Here we go. Only $7 grand. Well, the immersive music festival was promoted on social media by Hailey Baldwin, Emily Ratajkowski, Bella Hadid, all these famous influencers, you name it. The ads were the best. It was just slow-mo walking on a beach, just looking at the camera for 45 seconds, not advertising anything, just looking in the camera. So guests, of course, bought into this lifestyle. They arrived and it was immediately a disaster. As soon as they arrived to the island, they discovered nothing was even complete. Their luggage was sitting in an open shipping container in the dark. Blink-182 bailed. It gets worse and worse. Their tents were ripped apart, and for the culinary experience, they got bologna sandwiches and takeout containers. Yeah, Mustard and Bella Hadid were nowhere to be found. I want my money back now, Billy. That's it.
Number 6, Christmas. Hey, Merry Christmas, man.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks, man. There's a lot of connection with a bit of history that I've been brushing up on. Psychedelics. The The Nordics had some pretty old pagan rituals. Some were painted, some were written, but most of them by word of mouth. Every winter solstice, these guys would take a large handful of Amanita muscaria mushrooms, the classic red with the white dots, you know, known as Flyajark. Widely used with the berserkers, these people like to trip. Apparently reindeer love these mushrooms too and can be seen at many of these fungal sites, along with shamans who, during the snow-filled winters, would enter their homes by sliding down the chimney. Starting to sound familiar. The origins being much scarier with Krampus, the vengeful Germanic Christmas ghoul who brings you coal and kills the absolute shit out of you if you're bad. The spirit of Christmas. The holidays. And then there's Santa Claus, who's the good guy, just brings you gifts. These people were all just messed up on shrooms. Elves, flying reindeer, fat shamans dressed in red, too lazy to shovel, just sliding down the chimney. There's way too many similarities, and I've dabbled enough to know that something's fishy here.
Number 5. Ball de Victims. Okay, imagine you attend a ball in 1795. You're all excited, you're wearing your Sunday fancies, and it just happens to be the Victims' Ball. Yikes, bring your own tears, I guess. Shortly after the Reign of Terror ended, everybody was hurting. Even if you didn't meet your fate via the, the guillotine, you were most likely mourning for somebody who has. So these balls, these galas, were then put in place by dancing societies. This was a way of mourning, just like we do today. We party and celebrate for somebody's life. We literally have a ball. The Bal de la Zephyr happened inside a cemetery, just people dancing over the graves of their lost ones. That's amazing. Graveyard crump battles in 1800s. That would have been a sight to see. That's what I want to do after I go. Just, you and the family battle. Let's do some ciphers. Maybe we'll beatbox a bit, drop some flowers.
Number 4. Uphellia, Scotland. Uphellia, or also known as Uphellies, is a fire festival, no, not that fire festival, in Shetland, Scotland, annually to mark the end of the winter Yule. The first celebration was in 1876, and men, known as geysers, would add torches to an overgrowing bonfire in which effigies, ships, and piles of wood were all burned and lit by hand by torches. Borrowed from the Viking and early settlers, originally deep at its Nordic roots of the Jarl, the celebration was a spectacle in itself, and some time spent celebrating. Basically, they had a huge bonfire and everyone laughed and drank and danced and told stories. A little tragically hip and some marshmallows, call out a cottage weekend, my boy. If you're scared of fire or Frankenstein's monster himself, then I would say just avoid this whole event in total. If you're into some anarchy, a night of berserking, and a cozy little blaze, well then cry out na iron brew and going up the hilly for shenanigans, eh? I don't know what I just said. What was it?
Number 3, Banquet of Chestnuts. Ah, the Borgia. We love an incredibly corrupt and hypocritical papal family. The innocently named Banquet of Chestnuts was a lovely way of showing us all just how hypocritical they were. On October 30th, 1501, an incredibly lavish party was thrown at the papal palace belonging to Cardinal Caesar Borgia, son of Pope Alexander IV, who both attended said party and had quite the time participating in it. Every member of the clergy was encouraged to take part and overindulge in all the finest foods, wines, and ladies of the evening that this uber-wealthy family supplied. There was even rumored to be a massive, group activity that most, if not all, of the attendees took part in. What's with the chestnuts, though? The infamous party was named after the dancing ladies of the night picking up the chestnuts that were tossed at them by those sly and drooling clergymen. You dogs, you. It is debated whether or not this party was as lavish as we think. 1, because the church tries its best to cover it up, and 2, because the person who took record of it was Master of Ceremonies Liber Notarum Johann Burchard, who did not like the Borgia, but it was probably accurate.
Number 2, a lot of cheese. I love Super Bowl parties, but couldn't tell you one thing about football. I just go because my uncle makes this one dip. It's like a cheese dip. It's thick, it's liquidy. No idea how he makes it, no idea how he accomplishes such a task, but it's delicious. It's worth the commute every year. Sometimes cheese is just the life of the party, and you have to accept that. Sometimes you're not a great host, and cheese does all the heavy lifting. That's how life is. It's not about you. It's about your cheese. Cheese is better than all of us, okay? Hit that thumbs up for cheese today. Not us, not Big Ched, not me, just for cheese. Just cheddar cheese. 1837, President Andrew Jackson knew this. He was ahead of the game. He knew cheese was the main event. So during his last White House party, his big hurrah as president, he ordered a 1,500-pound brick of cheese to just be devoured. And then he invited 10,000 of his closest friends, hopefully who weren't, lactose intolerant, and went to town. If you're wondering how they got this cheese meteor to the White House from New York, well, they used 24 horses and had to sit for 2 years before they opened the thing up. So you know for 2 years, guards were just standing there like, oh, I'm so hungry. I want a bite so bad. Should I do it? I'm gonna do it. The ball of cheese only took 2 hours to finally disappear, and then it returned moments later just in the form of gas and farts and horrible, horrible air.
Number 1, Viking Christmas. Yule, or Yule. It's the precursor to some of our modern Christmas traditions, just with a lot more drinking and ritual life-ending endeavors. We have no specific date for this one. I mean, it occurred, well, we kinda do. It occurred every winter solstice and would last until the 12th day of January. Yes, that's 12 days of Viking partying, non-stop too. They had Yule trees just like our Christmas trees. There was a Yule wreath that was a giant wheel that they would set on fire and roll down a hill. Nice. They even had a Santa-like character, the Old Man Winter, who was invited to come drink with them, on foot or sometimes riding a horse. Very similar to Odin, actually. We know how the Vikings liked to party too. In their giant mead halls there would be massive feasts, dozens of roast poultry, horse and beef, with enough beer, ale, mead and fruit wines to sink a longboat. They had board games, dice games and early forms of chess. They had ancient rap battles called flighting, which was basically who could insult the other one with the best rhyme. And obviously, they had drinking competitions. They sang, played instruments, had inebriated combat, recited poetry, and got very drunk for weeks on end. What more could you ask for?
At number 9, survival of the fittest. Do you consider yourself to be an outdoorsy person? I for one am not. I'll go to a cottage for a weekend, but sleeping outside in the wilderness? Count me the F out. I would definitely fail the coming of age ritual that the Australian Aboriginals did, and I probably would have been lost to the elements within a day. If that. But for the brave young indigenous Australian souls from back in ancient times, this was their way of proving their way into adulthood. The traditional walkabout was a ritual task performed by young tribe members between the ages of 10 and 16, where they would leave the tribe for about 6 months and try to survive in the wilderness. They would depart wearing only a loincloth, decorated in traditional ornaments and paint, and they would start their long journey. This was meant as a test of their survival skills, but also their capability to communicate with their spiritual guides. This young person would have to survive off the land, providing themselves with their own shelter, food and water, and surviving against any predators. If they made it back in one piece, then they would be considered a full-fledged adult. The walkabout is still lightly practiced today, but it's more of a journey of self-discovery, not a full-blown life-threatening journey.
Number 8, Ball of the Burning Men. If you're gonna party like it's 1999, at least do so safely. Please. Back in 1393, for example, in Paris, these knights would put on these fun party performances for the king every time it was their birthday or some event. Again, they just like to have fun and get a little crazy. So the knights would dress up as wild beasts. How hilarious is that? They would soak their armor with shrubbery and dry glass, just stuffing it, anything to make them look hairy, almost. Which, first of all, great bit, but also way too itchy. That's too much commitment for me. I am itching saying this. No way I would be that committed. This party was going well, and they planned for these wacky performances. They banned candles and torches from this room, obviously, because of what I said earlier, the stuffed goose-looking attire. The king's brother, he was drunk. He was loaded. Maybe he was at the festival of drunkenness prior, who knows. He walks in with a torch. He got too close to the knights, and then one of the dancers had an awful night. And they're like, you know what, let's not do that party anymore. Let's just celebrate nicely, peacefully. Sans, lighters, and wheels.
At number 7, toga party. Milestones are a huge part of growing up. First words, first steps, first day of school. As we grow up, we strive to reach that next milestone. For us these days, these goals could be a number of things, but for people growing up in ancient Rome, there was one milestone celebration that every young Roman boy looked forward to: the man's toga. In ancient Roman culture, young boys started out wearing white togas, adorned with a purple stripe. But when said boy comes of age and is considered a man, he gets the cosmetic upgrade that he's looked forward to for much of his young life. His new man's toga is pretty much still a normal white toga, but the only difference is that there's no purple stripe to indicate his childhood. To me, I interpret this almost like when you're in some kind of martial arts class and you get a new belt level, you know? Upgrading to the man's toga also came with a couple perks, because being considered a full-fledged adult man also granted you all of the privileges of being an adult male in society. However, all of this toga pomp and circumstance was reserved for only free people, and anyone under servitude would not be able to be granted the man's toga.
Number 7, Nero's Golden House. I couldn't imagine a worse time than not being able to leave a party when you want. I am famous for pulling an Irish goodbye and leaving without saying a word to anybody when my social battery reaches 0%. But that wouldn't fly at Nero's crazy parties. His Domus Aurea, or Golden House, was where he held the craziest, heinous parties you ever did see. Massive feasts that they couldn't leave unless they ate enough to vomit, or if, and this is where it gets heinous, they did the dirty. Yes, the shika shika boom boom. According to legend, Nero would dress himself in animal skin and have men and women alike tied to posts where he would, well, you get the picture. People who went to these massive, crazy parties were not allowed to leave until he said the party was over. See, Nero wasn't really known for being the most sane of Roman emperors, okay?
Number 6, Bacchanalia. If you've ever dreamt of joining an ancient Roman wine cult, well, the 2nd century BC would have been a perfect time for you to be born. Sorry, you're just a tad late. I mean, now you get YouTube, but you're missing all this sticky goodness. We'll get them next time, Adam. Romans would gather in these cultic celebrations, all in the name of Bacchus, the wine god. These gatherings would be held in private, hopefully, or quiet areas of the woods. Again, hopefully. They would dance, they would cook food, they would eat, they would drink a lot, and then things would get rather intimate. They would dance a little closer with one another. Yeah, that was the whole point of this cult. You'd gather in small homes to dance the night away, if I can say that. Some accounts say people would often get poisoned in these ancient wine parties. It was pretty dangerous. It was like a dark theme, I guess. Ancient Romans just did that, I guess. So by the time 186 BC rolled around, the Roman Senate voted to end these cult gatherings. Rightfully so. Yeah, the smell alone, great call. Nobody did it like the Romans. Yuck.
Number 5, Feast of Fools. We have talked about this so many times, I have debated not including it on this list. But here we are. The Feast of Fools, where the lowest become the highest, at least in terms of religious officials. Every January 1st, starting in France and expanding to most of Europe, expect to see parades, comic performances, costumes, cross-dressing, song, and lots and lots and lots and lots of drinking. There is a bit of debate on that point though. Apparently, at least in the church, it was a highly scripted and very formal event. But that's boring. We want to see Quasimodo hoisted up as the king of fools while people yell topsy-turvy. The more fun, non-religious application is as a relief from the depression-inducing rigors of daily life living in a society like that of medieval Europe. That sounds way better, right?
Number 4, Pleasures of the Enchanted Isle. Sounds like a Harry Potter sequel that didn't make it. Harry Potter and the Pleasures of the Enchanted Isle. Don't bring your kids. What a name for a party. Okay, back in 1664, King Louis XIV decided to throw a big celebration for his mistress. Yeah, he told all invited that the party was for his mother, but really the spotlight was on his lady the entire time. What a dude. Already you're like, what a diva, classic. A week-long party? I'd be out of there in 3 hours. I'd be yawning day 1. Louis tried his best to keep the party going though, I'll give him that. He had outfits, a massive fake palace, he had a big float that looked like a whale, so those are fun. And he even had a ballet show. Yeah, nothing livens up a week-long bender than a live ballet show in a room full of lanterns. Nice, now I'm definitely asleep. While setting off fireworks on day 7, the fake palace caught real fire. And at that point, everybody was like, yeah, we're gonna go home now. We must sleep. This is too much. I have a headache. I'm gonna throw up. Number 4, a 3-day banquet. This next one, honestly, I think I could do it. I think if you catch me at the right day, I could probably do this one. Back in 1720, the Manchu Han Imperial Feast was the ultimate dinner party. It was a peace offering between both the Manchu and the Han Chinese, and the Emperor Xuanye hosted the celebration on his birthday. Good timing, good sir, of course. It's like, oh, it's my birthday, so we can just, also do this at the same time. What better way to spend your 66th birthday than to eat more than 300 different dishes from both of these parties all around the world? Leopard meat, rhino tail, camel, humps, just insane items on this menu. It's not like, oh, Caesar salad, and then, oh, Greek salad. No, it's like bird brains, a rhino. You're gonna be full pretty fast. Also, gross. There's one restaurant today that still offers the services for such an event. It'll just cost you $54,000, excluding the tip.
At number 3, the Inca Way. In many cultures, there are different coming-of-age ceremonies and rituals for boys and girls of said culture. Back in the days of the Inca, their coming-of-age rituals were very different between boys and girls, but they were still a little unusual, but still pretty fascinating. For young Inca women, they were considered women when they got their first period. When this happened, the girl would stay in her house without eating. Then on the 3rd day, she would be given corn, her mother would bathe her, braid her hair, and she would be given new clothes as well. Following this, she would be able to leave the house, her family would visit her, and her closest uncle would give her a new permanent name. This seems pretty positive and tame, other than the not eating part, but of course the wild stuff was saved for the boys. For young Inca men, in December of their 14th year, they would trek up a mountain to sacrifice a llama, then a priest would smear the llama's blood on the boy's forehead, kind of like what Rafiki did to Simba in The Lion King. A lot of Lion King here. Cool. The boy would also be given a sling to signify that he is now a warrior. His legs would also be whipped to toughen them up and make him stronger, and he would be able to get piercings to show his status and strength. And finally at number 1, New Do. The Zhou dynasty in ancient China introduced a coming-of-age ceremony for boys and girls called the capping or hairpin ceremony. For the boys, the capping ceremony took place in February of their 20th year, and it was a special ritual where an honored guest would roll the young man's hair into a bun and put a cap on their head. The honored guest would then give a speech wishing the young man good fortune, telling him he was now an adult. Then the young man would bow towards his mother, and the honored guest would give him a new name. On the flip side, the young women went through the hairpin ceremony. This was essentially the same premise, where someone would put their hair in a bun, but secure it with a hairpin rather than a cap. For women, this ceremony could be held between her engagement and her wedding, but it couldn't happen after she turned 20. That was essentially the cutoff year. So, hurry up and get married, I guess.
Number 10. Off of the Florida Keys, there's a place that holds a special kind of celebration. No, it's not the Beach Boys cover band, although there are many in local Florida to choose from. No, I'm talking about the 35-year running annual Underwater Music Festival. Next time you're in Florida for the weekend, enjoying some well-deserved R&R and want to hear some of your favorite classics, then grab some flippers and a snorkel for some front row tickets to this free underwater show. The 2-day festival draws in dozens. That's a sad sentence. Dude, you know I'm checking this out. You're telling me there's a bunch of real-life Zoras from Zelda swimming underwater dressed to the nines playing instruments designed to look like the bones of fish really existing? That's literally the Zoras, dude. Instruments such as the mandolin and the trombone fish can be heard for miles underwater. The origins of this 35-year event is pure at heart. Locals wanted to bring some awareness to the dying coral flora, and what better way to do this than to see it for yourself underwater. After the show, tickets and drinks are sold at the local tiki bar, and audiences can sit in on lectures of reef biology and a little spot of music. That's nice.
Number 9, California Gender Reveal Party. It's a hazard. Everything's on fire. Awesome, nice. Look, here on Bumblebee, we love celebrations, obviously. The Festival of Drunkenness we've mentioned many times before. There's ways to party, then there's ways not to party. Back in 2020, great time for celebrations, might I add, for sure, a California couple was charged with several offenses, including involuntary manslaughter after they caused a fire that ultimately damaged other homes' property. And this was the same blaze responsible for the death of one firefighter, a man named Charlie Morton. How brutal is this? The couple blazed 23,000 acres. Yeah, it destroyed 5 homes and 15 buildings in total. This is also not the first botched gender reveal in recent history. An Arizona fire was ignited in 2017 after an off-duty US Border Patrol agent shot at an explosive device to send blue smoke in the air. And then there's a massive fire. Awesome. It was a boy, by the way, in case you didn't pick that up. That matters all of a sudden. Let's not use pyrotechnic devices. Unless you're touring with the band Kiss, we don't need pyrotechnics, you know what I mean? Just do the baseball trick, that's it, keep it there.
Number 8, Guy Fawkes Night. This one hits home. Remember Grandma would talk about this magical night from her homeland? People running amongst the streets wreaking havoc, tearing down every fence and piece of wood that they could carry for a giant bonfire. 1, 2, 3, and to me. Thank you. Mobs just ripping off the side of your house every year. Like, how many times do they have to get their fences redone? You know how expensive it is to shingle a roof? She would boast about this night, and I thought it was made up for like 30 years. No, it's real, people. Guy Fawkes holds a special place for the Brits and their independence. We've seen V for Vendetta, it's that dude. Or the dude he's dressed up as. Guy Fawkes, the head of the Gunpowder Plot, a group of Protestants creating an underground movement in the early 1600s in attempts to blow up Parliament and end the Catholic reign and the kings it housed. Dark. Both Protestant and Catholics enjoy this holiday, however, as it means something a little different for both of them. So if you're looking to do some remodeling in November, just save it till the month after.
Number 6. Fountains au Fun. Back in 1520, King Henry VIII of England and Francis I of France had a little meeting, a little work lunch. Look, we've all been to a business lunch. Maybe you have one drink, the ideas start to flow. You're starting to feel good, you're getting another one, you're riding a wave, you're feeling good as a team, you're feeling creative, heads are bumping in. Maybe you're starting to spill a few secrets. The next thing you know, you have another drink, and then another, and then you're buzzing, and then you're getting an Uber, and no work has actually been done. You just gossiped. Well, this was like one of those meetings, but they kept drinking for 2.5 weeks. 2.5 weeks, people. Both sides attended this meeting with one goal: look cool and party hard and impress. Both sides attended this meeting with so many goals in mind. Those goals being looking cool, partying hard, and just showing off, I guess. They planned on this party being a historical one because a temporary palace was constructed before the meeting alongside 2 fountains. One flowing with not water but wine, and the other flowing with still not water but beer. Pick your poison. Also, take your shoes off because you're gonna be here for a while, about 2.5 weeks. Good luck.
At number 5, the Lion King. Be honest with me. Do you think you could take on a lion? Like real Mufasa looking lion. As hard as it might be to hunt and kill a lion, there were some who were actually able to do it using only a spear and their wits. For hundreds of years, the Maasai people have had a strong connection to the land and wildlife of southern Kenya and northern Tanzania, and this has influenced their culture's coming of age celebrations. According to the Maasai people's lore, a boy can only become a man when they kill a lion. So, guess what they do? They pull a scar and go all Lion King on the nearest Mufasa they can find. The boys who attempt this are given only a spear and are sent out into the plains to find and kill a male lion to show their strength and bravery. If they're successful in taking a lion down solo, they bring the animal back to the rest of the tribe and symbolically throw it away, and later sacrifice a lamb on top of that. It was a lot of killing, so this practice has been discontinued over the years as to protect the animal populations, but they still have other ways of transitioning into adulthood.
Number 3. Downhill cheese chasing. My patellas hurt just looking at this video. Holy shit, why do people do this? Walking downhill is hard enough and also so silly. You look like Woody from Toy Story. Just bouncing around down the street. Stupid, right? Well, after a 2-year hiatus, the 2022 Cheese Rolling Championships finally took place again on Cooper's Hill in the UK. You've seen this, right? It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. People flailing their bodies down a hill, all in the name of cheese. This event kicked off back in 1826, where competitors would chase after a wheel of cheese rolling around, 100 kilometers or so. The local rugby team waits at the bottom to catch these competitors, right? They're rolling in at insane speeds, they're upside down, you gotta catch them, right? Obviously. As well as emergency medical workers, because, believe it or not, rolling down a 200-meter hill might break something. I know, right? Crazy. Chris Anderson is the literal cheese king. This man is 35 and he's won 23 races in 15 years. He also became a dad over the pandemic, so he's for sure done. He's not doing any cheese chasing anymore. But the amount of injuries that he sustained while chasing the cheese, dude's immortal. Give Jackie Chan a run for his money. Also, he's clearly not lactose intolerant. I mean, I would hope. Who knows?
Number 2. Burning Man. Under a scorching summer sun and the freezing desert night, enjoy a week of community, art, counterculture, and human expression. The annual Burning Man event, which is held in the Nevada desert, has gained notoriety. Each and every year it continues. Thousands travel worldwide for the chance of finding themselves via live music, drugs, and exploring sexual identity. And of course, the ritualistic bonfire. Dude, this sounds sick. We gotta go. A celebration of identity itself. A steep ticket price though of about $500 gets you a place to park, an area to set up camp, and a week-long experience left up to the questions of the universe. Ton of drugs and finding yourself, basically. Hey, if you're rocked out of your mind on shrooms, I can understand why the enormous 5-story Hayman could seem a little jarring. Whoa. Crowds can vary anywhere from 2 people in '86, the founders themselves, Larry Harvey and Jerry James, starting the event, to a modern, subtle 80,000 people. Speaks for itself, doesn't it? The verdict? People want to get f***ed up and learn about what makes us human. Imagine the stars too, god damn. You're coming back a different person, I'll tell you that.
And finally, number 1, Pleasures of the Enchanted Isle. This one sounds like a Harry Potter sequel that didn't quite make it. Harry Potter and the Pleasures of the Enchanted Isle. Nice, 5 points to Gryffindor, let's party. This celebration kicked off May 1664. King Louis XIV decided to throw a big, fancy ball for his mistress. Yeah, but he told all invited that the party was actually for his mother, but really the spotlight the entire time was on his lady. Yeah, how rude, eh? Already you're like, ugh, what a diva, this Louis. A week-long party? Buddy, I'd be out of there in 48 minutes flat, that's it. Babysitters texting, I don't know, phones don't exist, see ya. I'm making up excuses. Louis tried his best to keep the party going, believe me or not. He tried to keep it fresh. He had these fun, big, large outfits, a massive fake palace. He even had a big float that looked like a whale. And also, to end it all, a ballet show. Yeah, nothing livens up a week-long bender than ballet in a room full of lanterns. You're just watching like, while setting off fireworks on day 7, the fake palace caught real fire. And at that point, everybody was like, can we leave? I feel like we can leave now, it's done. I need 3 baths.